Hey everyone, it's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and in today's video we're going to review the Beyerdynamic MMX 200 wireless headset. Yes, a wireless headset from Beyerdynamic. They're going after gamers, but they still want to adhere to their studio quality sound that they are marketing all their products for. So we're going to talk about a lot with this headset, compare it to some others, because at $250 it's facing some stiff competition. Not only in feature sets, but sound quality and overall value, to be honest. There's a lot to consider when you're shopping for a headset at this price range. So this was not sent to me for review. I purchased this. That's why the headset review did not come out at launch. I went to Can Jam and then got really sick. So if I sound nasally, it's because I'm still trying to recover, and it's also late. So this is not a good combination, but I really wanted to get this review done as soon as I felt it was ready. So with that being said, let's kick it off. Now I want to start by talking about the dongle and platform support, because this is going to get asked on every video, and rightly so. What does this work on? So natively with the USB-C dongle, which has a USB-A adapter on it, more on that in a sec, it works on PC, Mac, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. I actually really like the shape of this dongle because it's USB-C, but it tapers inward. And because of this design, you can still use adjacent USB-C ports. A lot of USB-C dongles, traditionally from SteelSeries or Razer, they have an asymmetrical jack, and because of that, it takes up room. The Odyssey Maxwell is a little bit better than the others, but it's still, it's comparable to this actually. It's pretty similar. The adapter that Odyssey gives you is more like a cable, whereas this is just a little plug adapter. You insert it like so, and now you have a USB-A to, again, plug into every A port. Now you can use this with Bluetooth. I'll cover how all of the Bluetooth works too. But I did test this on the new Pixel tablet, the one that just came out in 2023. And this dongle works perfectly on my Pixel tablet. Now I had to adjust the volume on both the headset and my Pixel, but it still got really loud and it sounded good. And this is a low latency adapter. The other note on that, it seems like more companies are starting to use Bluetooth technology instead of 2.4 gigahertz because Bluetooth keeps improving. And they advertise low latency. In fact, when you plug this in, it actually says LL adapter for low latency. That was my first red flag that this was not wireless and that it was Bluetooth. But it did not impact latency. I did a lot of latency tests, both from gameplay and through the visual tests, and it performs just like wireless. There's no discernible difference. What I do notice, though, is the wireless range is excellent. So going to my quote-unquote toilet test, I got over 65 feet away from this transmitter through 2 walls without it dropping out. That was basically the limit, and then after that it was kind of inconsistently dropping. So the wireless range is excellent too. Now there's additional platform support through an auxiliary connection, which got me really excited because I read through the website and it says with optional aux cable, meaning in my head that I thought it meant you don't have to use the aux cable, but you can use the dongle. And then if you want to use the optional aux cable, you can then connect to a controller. So this was getting pretty exciting. The cable's not included in the box. It's also some kind of special version. It looks like a 4-pole cable or TRRS into one side and then USB-C on the other. This doesn't have an aux input. It's just a USB-C port on the bottom. And I tried this because SteelSeries on the Nova 3 uses a USB to analog adapter as well to run that in passive mode. So I plugged the USB-C side into this and then went with analog on the other side to my computer just to see if I can get it to work, or actually on my Xbox controller. No dice. Now, I'm not a huge fan of being $250, this being basically what's included, and then still not giving you the optional aux cable, making you pay separately. There's no additional pads, which is kind of a bummer too, because Beyerdynamic has some amazing alternative pad materials. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy the cable. Well, I can't find that cable anywhere either. So it's printed as if it's included in the manual to use the aux cable for analog mode. And then it even explains how the headset works in analog mode, but right now you can't buy the cable. So maybe by the time this review goes live, that's going to be listed. I waited as long as I could because I really wanted to try that wire out. And I will likely do a review with that as a follow-up later in case they improve or add features. It is not a passive mode headset, which means the headset has to be on even when the analog cable is connected. Now there is a hybrid mode that it supports with the analog cable, which supposedly means that you can use it as a Bluetooth headset on your phone or computer to take Discord calls, for example, while simultaneously using the auxiliary connection with the analog 3.5 to a controller or whatever other device. So you can do simultaneous Bluetooth with aux, just not at the moment because they don't give you the option to get the cable. If you are using it in wireless mode, it is hopping from this dongle, which is a low latency Bluetooth dongle. It uses LC3 to the traditional Bluetooth mode. It's Bluetooth 5.3. It supports AAC, SBC, like I said, LC3 as well. So you can't do it simultaneously. There's no way to do it. You have to press buttons to switch, which leads me to the controls. So if I look on the left side of the ear cup, now this isn't terrible, but I did have to consult the manual a lot because I guess I don't know if I'm sick or just I use so many different headsets. I can't get used to one exclusively because I bounce back and forth. So the controls are a little different. Now, it's simple enough to understand. You have a volume wheel, which is really nice. Has that nice notchy clicky feel to it. You know you're adjusting it, but they're multi-purpose buttons. Everything serves more than one purpose here. If you press and hold it once, or tap it I guess, it will mute the mic. I'll explain how that works after because that won't work right now. If I press and hold, it's going to change another feature and that's called ambient mode. So that means I can hear the surroundings in my environment. So there's two little microphones on the outside right here in the ear cup, one on each side. So you have a stereo ambient mode, like a pass-through mode, which is really nice for people who want closed back when they want the sound isolation. But sometimes if they play at night, they want to be able to hear their surroundings. So now you don't have to buy two different headsets to support both. This feature works really, really well. It sounds fairly natural and the stereo effect works well too. So the microphones do have a second purpose. Not only do they work with ambient mode, but they also help with phone calls if you don't have the microphone attached. So we'll do a mic test with that too. Then we move on to the next button, and that's this little Beyerdynamic symbol and the Bluetooth symbol. It's not like the same. So this is an action button by default. So if you're getting phone calls, you can tap to answer or press and hold to reject or use it to change tracks. On PC, the same thing works. You can actually play and pause your media with this button as well. If you triple press it, it switches to Bluetooth mode. If you double press it, it switches back to wireless mode. So it's kind of an odd set of instructions, I guess. I'm used to just using one button that just toggles between both. Like Razer, for example, when you hit it, it just goes hyperspeed to Bluetooth. So that's an interesting feature, but once you get used to it, it's fine. Now the power button is relatively straightforward. No real changes there. Just press and hold to turn it on and off. It takes a couple seconds and you do hear a little prompt. There's like a sound effect of it booting up and then you hear a voice prompt telling you the battery life, and it does like increments of 20%. It does come with a rather long cable, and this is actually a great cable. It's really heavy duty. Beyerdynamic is known for their quality. I'm about to talk about that, but even the cable it feels like it's going to outlast me. It's super strong and heavy duty, and even though the USB-C connector is recessed, it's a large enough opening where most normal USB cables will work fine. It's not like it's proprietary. However, by being this large and plugging this in, I have a really secure seal. I don't feel like I'm going to break the port. Now, this does not work as a USB-C headset. This is only for charging. You can use it simultaneously while you charge, and it does charge relatively quick as well. They don't list rapid charging as a feature set, but with the battery life being 35 to 50 hours, depending on if you're using it as wireless or a Bluetooth only headset, the charge still seemed quick. Like 15 minutes can get me through a night of gaming, no problem. So let's talk about build quality and comfort, and I'm going to start with the weight first. Now these weigh 362 grams on my scales, so they have some weight to it. Not the lightest headset out there, but certainly not the heaviest when we have some models easily passing 400 grams. As far as the ear cups to go, so I'm going to take them off to measure the pad, and these are different than other Beyerdynamic products because all you have to do is rotate it to remove it. It feels really nice, and it makes the removal and swap process really easy. And they even talking about, in the manual, they talk about replacing the pads. There are no other pad options yet, however. So I don't know if they're going to offer like velour, Alcantara, suede, who knows, or just replacement leatherette. Now these leatherette pads are nice. They're supple, and they're larger than some other Beyerdynamic products. So the size is decent. So let's measure. And because they're round, it's relatively easy to measure. I'm getting about 56, 57 millimeters of width, and the depth is actually nice as well. So if I go flat, just because I want to get an anchor on the ground here, I'm getting about 22 millimeters of depth. Now this baffle right here is padded. It's a really nice material. It's kind of like a sport jersey type fabric, but it's not scratchy. And some people will have their ears rest against the baffle just a little bit. There's no nub or weird ANC thing going on because there's no active noise cancellation. It's just passive noise blocking. As far as how this translates to comfort, this clamp force is a little stronger. It's stronger than HyperX. It's stronger than HyperX. It's stronger than Razer. It's stronger than SteelSeries and the Logitech G Pro X Wireless 2 that just came out. It's not as strong as Turtle Beach products like the Stealth Pro and the 700 Gen 2 Max. Those are noticeably the strongest clamp out there. This is up there, but again, because the pads are fairly soft, it's fine. Now, one benefit to the stronger clamp force is you get a more consistent seal, which means you should always have a similar bass production. You know, if you're chewing food or moving your mouth, your jaw tends to break the seal with certain headsets or ear pad designs. Now, because these are round, depending on the shape of your head, right here could break the seal and you'll lose some bass if the headset is sized too low. So you always want to make sure that you maintain a strong seal. This has telescoping yokes, and you can hear the quality when you adjust this. Like, everything just feels so well made and precise. You could see the way it bends. There's no rattles. I really feel like this could be one of the longest lasting wireless headsets I will ever own. It has an aluminum fork, so this yoke right here is all metal. The headband construction inside is aluminum, and then it has a memory foam pad that goes all the way around. This is all leatherette. It does get a little spicy after a while. However, for me, the clamp force wasn't that bad for my head shape. And the leatherette, yeah, it's going to get warm, but it wasn't, because the pads are larger, it didn't feel as bad as some other older leatherette headsets. Now, I still prefer suede, or when you can, wicked cushions, which is why my Odyssey Maxwell has wicked cushions. I'm getting ahead of myself, but leatherette's advantage is sound quality consistency, not long-term comfort in terms of breathability. So you kind of have to accept that that's where it is in its current state. We might see pads for it down the road that change that, but it is what it is. Now, these have been fine for glasses as well. I don't like larger frame glasses with this type of cup design, especially with the leatherette. It seems to put a little bit extra pressure on my head. However, if you wear thinner frames, which most people do, I think it's going to be really comfortable. Thinner frames are better anyway, because if you go with too thick of a frame, you're going to break the seal and lose some of the bass regardless. And because of the lighter weight with this clamp force, it's also very secure. So if you're moving your head around, you don't have to worry about it falling off. That's actually kind of helpful too. Now, I got this in gray, obviously. They make it in black, which is a little more subtle. But if you are using this to travel and go out and about, having a stronger clamp like this means that with day-to-day activity, getting on and off a bus, going for a walk, things like that, it's much less likely to fall off your head or break the seal.
All right, now I'm talking to you on the MMX 200 microphone. How good does this sound? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This microphone sounds fantastic, and I was nervous about the whole Bluetooth dongle thing because a lot of times when you have wireless protocols, you kind of have to allocate your wireless bandwidth, and most companies prefer to allocate as much as they can on the sound quality side for what you hear for gaming, and then just do good enough for the microphone so your friends can hear you, but you're not going to be running a podcast. This is one of those headsets that, because of the way these wireless protocols keep improving, I could still get good sound quality on the opposite side. I'll talk about that shortly, but the microphone sounds fantastic. Now, I want to talk about the mic mute because I alluded to this earlier. If you press the volume wheel, it mutes the mic while the mic is on, and I have a little red light that you will see in the camera.
So you can see that light lit up right now because my microphone is muted. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe I can get a little bit better focus there. So when your microphone is not being used, so let's say you're on a Discord call or a Teams meeting at work and you're muted, your call ends, this light turns off, and then on your next call, the microphone is hot again. This mute feature is not persistent unless the microphone's being used the entire time. Now on PlayStation, that's fine. That's going to work as intended, and it'll stay muted the whole time your headset's on. There's no flip to mute. There's no audible tone that you're muted. All you have is this LED in the corner of your mouth.
And Now I'm talking to you on the microphone again. So it's not the best or most intuitive thing. I hope they improve this feature with a firmware update because not having a persistent mic mute or some kind of a tone to tell you you're on or off could be kind of a challenge. Now I want to talk to you on the, oh, actually, before I do that, let's type something because they also advertise some noise rejection. So while I'm talking and typing, you can see that I still get some keyboard noise in the background, but it's not too bad. It does do some noise rejection, which is going to help get rid of some of that unwanted stuff in the background while you're talking with your buddies. But this is what it does. Now, just to show you without the microphone boom, this is what it sounds like with the integrated microphone system. It's actually still quite loud. It's going to have a different tonality because now I don't have the proximity effect, but their microphones on this headset is excellent. It's probably one of the biggest surprise features, and I feel like all the new headsets lately, the microphones keep getting better and better. So I'm really happy to see that Beyerdynamic was part of that shift. All right, and now this is the same boom mic connected to my iPhone using the AAC protocol. So obviously it's not going to sound as good. That's the way this stuff works, but I just wanted to show you what it sounds like. Now let's switch over to the beamforming mics. And this is what I sound like on a Bluetooth call without a mic. So if you're making a phone call on the go and you want to know what you'll sound like to your friends and family out there, this is what it sounds like. All right, now it's time to talk about sound quality, my favorite part. And I'm going to start with the measurements first, which is the objective side. This takes away my personal opinion and just shows how it measures on my rig, which is using a Gross Pinna clone. And I record both channels so I can test for driver matching, which also helps kind of back up the imaging performance. Now, this is all uploaded to a Squiglink website, which a lot of other reviewers use, especially on the IEM side. As far as I know, I'm the only one that has a gaming headset database, but I'm also mixing in headphones into that as well. So with that being said, this is how the MMX 200 measures. And let's just start with the obvious, and that is a nice mountain of bass, a nice old plateau that hits all the way up to about 125 to 150 hertz with a big scoop in the 200 to 300 hertz range. Now, this bass profile will seem alarming at first, especially you audio purists out there that are either chasing the Harman curve or like a neutral sound. Now, when you look at other gaming headsets that are fairly popular out there, the story kind of changes a little bit. So I'm going to go over and add the Razer Black Shark V2 Pro. And you can see it has a similar bass shelf, but there's two flaws with that headset compared to the Beyerdynamic MMX 200. One is when you have the bass in the 200 to 300 hertz region, that's the boxiness or muddiness that some headsets sound. So if you hear something and it sounds really thick and dense, and you listen to vocals and they sound too heavy, it doesn't sound natural, it's likely because that region is being emphasized, which is further affected by the mid-range scoop. So when you look at the 300 to even 1K region, the Razer Black Shark V2 Pro, which a lot of people like, is recessed in the mids on top of being boosted in the bass. So it really makes the mid-range step back. Whereas the Beyerdynamic, they have a really cool trick here where they scoop the upper bass region into the mid so it doesn't sound boxy or overly thick, and then the vocals are immediately brought back up to the generally agreed upon Harman curve, which is a very neutral mid-range. Now I'm going to get rid of the Razer measurement and show you the Beyerdynamic exclusively again. The vocals and leading into the upper mid-range and treble region is fantastic. Now, this, even though it has that bass shelf, it has treble extension as well, which does directly play a part into soundstage. Now, this seems maybe a little more emphasized than I think it really is. It really depends on your hearing in the upper frequencies. I think a lot of people will like this, especially if you're the ones who tend to turn up the bass and treble on some things. But it's tastefully done for gaming. Now, it's not perfect for music. That extra bass boost is noticeable, and it's not extremely deep either. So I'm going to get into some of the subjective stuff while we talk about the measurements. So when you have this treble lift, it tends to make things sound more airy. That's why that's called the air region. I like the way this sounds for gaming. When I was playing Starfield, the spaceship battles with the heavy mid bass really makes the spaceship sound better. Then the extra treble and airiness up top for environmental effects, it sounds more open and vast. This sound signature, surprisingly, actually worked pretty well in FPS also. Now, the biggest spike in the bass is right about 120 hertz.
Beyerdynamic, I don't know if this was just luck or they really, I mean, these guys are audio people, like they make headphones first. That's why I use my Tiger 300R a lot, even to this day. I love a lot of their products, and those things last forever as well. 120 hertz is kind of a primary note for footsteps in a lot of games. It's a main like percussive note for the primary impact of a footstep. That's its strongest point. It has a slight roll off in the really deep bass. So even though this looks like it has very heavily emphasized bass, when you compare it to the Odyssey Maxwell, the Maxwell has deeper, more impactful bass. The Rig 900 that I recently reviewed, that has deeper bass. This is tight bass, it's just strong, but it's not really thick and dense and deep sounding. It's strong, but it's relatively, I don't want to say one note, but it's a little bit dry. Now, that does play well into gaming. This obviously plays well into gaming. It's tuned really well. But I want to finish up on this. So the other measurement I want to have discuss while this is pulled up is the driver matching, which is phenomenal. When you look from the bass region all the way up to the mid-range and treble for a wireless headset of any kind, this is one of the best driver matching I've ever measured on my rig or even heard. That does help with imaging performance in footsteps because you have less of a shift and frequency response. Phasing has a big difference as well. It's not just amplitude, which is how loud a frequency is, but are the drivers in phase with each other? Are they moving in and out at the same time if they're supposed to produce the same note? And from what I've heard and tested, the Tiger, I'm talking about the other one, the MMX 200 has excellent phase matching as well. All this plays into gaming. Now, I like this bass for gaming. I think it works well for movies as well. However, if you're purely looking for a movie consumption, the Maxwell is going to give you thicker bass, and it sounds better to me for music as well. It's scooped a little bit on the Maxwell in like the 4 to 6K region, whereas this is a little bit more energetic. Typical Beyerdynamic sound, they're a little bit more high energy in the treble region, and the bass is a little bit more compressed. It's not as dynamic or punchy as something like the Maxwell. Now, purely as a gaming headset, there are some faults and some exceptional pieces here. This has a great mic. The transmitter is extremely reliable. It has great range. This thing is built to outlast you. So it's built so strongly, at least on the initial feel. Who knows if something weird will happen later, but even this one-piece design on the band should mean that the buckle shouldn't ever fail. There's a little bit of swivel here, not full rotation, which kind of stinks, but it's flexible enough. However, one of the biggest issues I have, there's no game-to-chat mix. And when you're looking at the 200 plus range, the lack of features starts to become an issue because other headsets have these features. There's no simultaneous Bluetooth. Right now, there's no aux support, so that means sorry, Xbox owners. No game-to-chat mix, so I can't adjust the volume of my friends versus the game, at least without doing some trickery through software or an external controller. And no simultaneous Bluetooth. There's also no EQ. Now, this could be an advantage. One, this doesn't really need EQ per se. You might want to adjust the bass to your liking, but for what it's designed for, I think they have a good sound profile. But other brands, almost all of them in this price range that I can recall, I can't actually recall of any that I've reviewed recently that don't give you some form of EQ. Now, some brands don't save the EQ to the headset. The software has to be running. Some brands do. This doesn't give you any option. Now, the pro to that is there's no software to worry about. You just install this and play. Plug the dongle in, say yes to Windows or Mac, grant permission, whatever you have to do, and just start playing. And it sounds really good out of the box. I think if you heard this, it's not as punchy or has as much depth as the Maxwell, but I am still really happy with gaming performance. I think for FPS, it's excellent. It's easily one of the better FPS headsets out there, as long as you're okay with the thicker bass. Surprisingly, because of that huge mid-scoop, it even worked in Valorant, which is a bass-heavy FPS game, and I thought it was going to be too much there, but it wasn't. It's excellent for Call of Duty. This is one of the best sounding headsets I've used on Apex. Like, holy cow, Apex is a whole new game for me, which is funny because this has like the German sound where it's It's a little bit more refined and laid back. It's not like crazy in your face. Part of that has to do with the dynamics and the way these 40 millimeter drivers sound. But this sound tuning works so well on Apex. I love it. Now, I took the pads off earlier. The baffle's straight. It's a 40 millimeter driver. I don't want to say that's the only reason why the bass isn't that deep, because I've heard 40 millimeter drivers from other brands where the bass can get really heavy. But, you know, physics makes it a little bit harder. So the hard part with this headset is how flooded the market is in this price range. And it's getting more and more flooded every month or two. New headsets come out all the time. I can't even keep up. And there's some great options out there. Now, the Maxwell is the reigning champ purely for tonality, music performance, movie performance, and it sounds excellent in gaming. The only, and I say weakness in quotes, is it doesn't work as well in FPS as my Stealth Pro or my Nova Pro, or obviously things like Ace Zone or the VZR Model 1. It's just phenomenal in every other regard, and it gives you everything you need in the box, including aux, onboard EQ. Sometimes less is more to people. Maybe you don't care for EQ or software. You just want something reliable that you can plug and play, be competitive in FPS, and then go in your Starfield equivalent game and go enjoy this vast soundscape. And the MMX 200 does a great job. It hits other notes, right, like build quality and microphone performance, but it's just lacking certain features in this price range that, whether you need it or not, exist with other models. So the closest one, just to compare. Now, the Logitech G Pro X Wireless 2, that's also $250. It comes with more stuff in the box, including different pads and a little carrying case. This has nothing. It's just that and a cable. I still like this one more, just because I don't like the sound profile as much on Logitech. The tuning is too wonky in the mid-range and treble, whereas this has almost zero issue up there. It's literally just a bass shelf. But the microphone is much better on this. Even though it's not as comfortable as the Logitech, it's still comfortable enough for me. And when you factor in build quality, I would just rather prefer Beyer in this price range. So this is not an easy review to cover, I think, because it has some things that are so good and other things that are kind of like, why? But I think this is going to make a lot of people happy. It just depends on if what I said is right for you or not. So I hope you found this long-winded review helpful. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I'd love to see you at the next one. And with that being said, thank you so much for the support, and I will see you next time. Bye.